to another Chalk Talk with Tony. I'm your host, Tmzoids, also known as Tony. And this week we have actually a special interview. We have two guests. We have Noble Recon, also known as Paul, and we have Noble Texas, also known as Mike. How are you guys doing today?
Ver-
Excellent, thank you.
Very well, thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. So this is usually a gaming interview, and I usually talk about the gaming past, but since I have two of you here and you guys own Noble Esports one way or another. We'll get into that in a little bit. But before we get there, how did you guys get into gaming? Was it ever since you were young or your family?
Mike, you can go first.
You know, first, okay. So how I've gotten into gaming, I actually got into gaming in the mid '80s with the Atari 2600 and television is when I started gaming. So I've kind of been a gamer, for probably 30 plus years. I just dated myself, but whatever. Um, when I really got into the interactive part of gaming was when I started playing Halo 3. Some of my employees had asked me to get an Xbox Live account so I could play Halo with them. I did that, and I was immediately hooked. I loved everything about Halo. Halo was amazing. And then it progressed into Call of Duty, and then obviously all the other titles. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoy gaming immensely. I haven't gamed recently because it's my schedule, but I'm going to go back to it. But it's going to be PC based gaming. Uh,
PC-based gaming. Okay.
it's going to be I'm going to try Smite, and then see if I have the ability to do CS. But I doubt that's going to happen because I'm not very skilled with the keyboard and mouse. So yeah, that's how I got my start.
Mine is a little different. Uh, I was introduced to gaming from a friend of mine who was actually working within the comic book industry, and it kind of progressed from there. But that would go more into my actual background. But as Mike, aging myself, I did play when I was younger. In television, ColecoVision, Atari 2600, Commodore 64. Again, aging ourselves. Still have all of those systems today um, here in my home, and it's progressed throughout time. Obviously, next gen systems, going to each one, finding which ones I find that suit me best in my play style, and lately have been doing a lot of PC gaming as well.
Very cool, very cool. Now for Mike, you seem like a big shooter kind of player. You like the shooting kind of games. You're never really big into RPGs or.
Uh, as far as RPGs, I did play some titles. Like I got hooked on Fable.
Oh,
So I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty close to an RPG, I think. I really enjoyed Fable. Fable was awesome. I played all different types of games, but yeah, where I got started, I think because it's just such a simple transition because it's a Twitch reaction shooter. It doesn't take much skill, so I was able to get in there and actually get pretty good fairly quickly. And I enjoyed it because the majority of the people that I associated with also played shooters, so that's kind of why I felt comfortable there and I knew a bunch of people. But when I were to game by myself, it was stuff like Fable, stuff like that.
very cool, very cool. So, what would you guys say is your favorite game?
Huh.
That's a tough question.
That's a really tough question. Because me personally, I go cross genre. I play a number of different MOBAs. I play a bunch of SPSs, RTSs, even poker. To a point, it's not more so of the games I play. It's more of an entertainment for me. It's what it's really turned into. It's a way not to, sometimes it is extremely stressful, but it is a way to kind of unwind from the daily grind, I guess you could say.
Okay.
For me, what I used to enjoy when I had the time to game, again, it was on the console. and I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for it, but I played Minecraft on the console.
What? What?
Yes, and I did play it some on the PC. I did play some on the PC, but but see, at that point in my life, you understand, I was doing a lot of consulting for marketing and sales companies, so I was literally on a PC all day long, right?
Uh-huh.
Sitting in a chair, staring at a monitor. So I didn't want to play a game on a monitor. I wanted to sit back on my couch, relax, and enjoy myself. So I was able to do that with a console. So I did Minecraft. I mean, I actually did some videos with some YouTubers. I helped them build their structures, and they said, "Yeah, built by Dynamo." That was my name. That was my gamer tag. It was Dynamo, and yeah, it was awesome. For playing with friends, absolutely Call of Duty and Halo.
Big
For the
shooter.
my favorite shooter of all time, and still to this day, is going to be Halo. I love Halo. It's awesome.
Very big Halo fan, I see. I didn't even know Minecraft was for the console. I thought it was just always computer based. That's something I did not know, especially for
Well,
Xbox,
yeah, well, Minecraft is not only on console, but it's on the iPad and the iOS phone because my daughter plays Minecraft on the iPad. So, yeah, it's actually kind of everywhere now.
Oh man, it's grown quite a bit, quite a bit. But so what makes this interview special is that you're actually owners of Noble Esports. I guess the first question is, how did you two meet, or how did you guys, I guess,
How
yeah,
did we
meet?
get together?
Or yes, how did you get together?
Um, it was through another business connection. We, um, I one of the things that I enjoy doing is creating things. So I have helped and worked with and continue to work with a number of different startups in a number of different categories. But they all revolve around gaming. So at one point, I was in conversations with a platform
Mm.
that Mike was consulting
Why do
with.
make starters taste so
Um,
juicy?
They use wicked
by
small cartridges.
happenstance, we got onto a call, started to discuss potentials for Noble and that platform, and just hit it off. And from there, pretty much, I mean, it was ground running. We realized that we had a lot of the same ideologies, years of business experience behind us, years of marketing experience, structure, building out different initiatives, and being able to strategize on the fly. And it has really worked from day one. I mean, there has been zero lag for us, and that's very. It's happened very, very few times in my life where I've been able to work with someone so easily because they understand what I'm going to say before I'm going to say it. It truly does work that way with us.
It's actually kind of frightening, to be honest with you. I mean, it is. I mean, in a good way. I mean, and that's, yeah, Paul and I hit it off quickly because Paul comes from, again, traditional business practices. He was one of the few individuals that I spoke with that had, again, the same ideology of coupling traditional and standard business practices into the entertainment competitive gaming market space. I already thought that and knew it would work. So once we talked, like how we just talked about, he just explained, we literally talked for like 3 hours,
Hmm.
and it was like, okay, how
Why
can
why are we not working together right now?
exactly what needs to happen? How can we do this? And I made a decision. I came onto Noble very quickly. Was given shares and became ownership and became president. And it's been foot on the gas pedal 100%, 100% laser focus since that day.
Okay. Very interesting. Kind of how two business backgrounds, kind of more. You both had the business background, but one was more gaming related, and yours was more business related, I guess you could say. And then you guys kind of meet, and then it's like, wow, we clash together, and here we are, running a gaming business now, almost. per se.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Which which you lead me right into my next question. I should have done this earlier, but if you wanted to announce your titles, either one of you can start. What your title within Noble?
Sure. I'm co-owner of Noble and the president of Noble Esports.
And I'm the CEO and founder of Noble.
All right. So starting with the CEO, of course. How did you come up with Noble, like the name? When were you like, I'm gonna go with this. This is gonna be my baby.
It was really interesting, actually. My fiance, she's a gamer as well. So she was approached by a number of different organizations. This was before even I understood the magnitude of esports. I was in the gaming industry for the last decade and a half, but on the other side, doing R&D, doing marketing, and she's a true gamer, and she was approached by a number of different organizations, and I'm kind of looking at this stuff and going, what the hell is this? Why are these guys hitting you up, oh, stream for us and play for us and do all these things? So one organization approached her, and I started to talk with them and found very quickly that they were not business centric. And I went, whoa, let me help you guys out. I can, I'll help you with this. Yeah, she can do this. I mean, they literally sent her like a streaming agreement, and it looked like it was, made in WordPad. It was a paragraph, and I'm like, that's not the way that you do things. Started to get more acclimated into the esports scene, and it came down to an event, and the organization had some financial issues at that moment, and the team was at the event. Things were not being taken care of the way that they needed to be taken care of, and I started to put out money, and I said, listen, I can't, specifically the guys didn't even have a hotel room. They were going to sleep in the lobby to play at this event, and I'm like, no, that can't happen. I just fundamentally, as a person, I can't let that happen. So, I PayPal'd them money, and I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll take care of this. And we started going through this and really got involved with the team. And, my fiance turned to me and she said, why are you doing all of this for these people? And, you're not getting anything back from it. Like, you're putting out all this money, you're putting out all this time. You could do this yourself. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, you're freaking right. Why aren't we doing this ourselves? So we sat there and thought about this, and I sat at my desk and drew the logo out and literally looked around my room and said, what would be a good name? And as Mike alluded to earlier, Halo was a big thing in his life. Halo was a big thing in my life too. Halo really changed the multiplayer aspect for me, and playing with my friends growing up. So that's where the name Noble actually comes from. It came from Noble Team. The logo, obviously a little different. I wanted to take a couple of different aspects of it, but make it something that, if you look at the Noble logo itself, is something that's a three-piece logo that's extremely easy to go over and market and brand. And that's where the business side came in. So I physically drew that logo and then had an artist render it. And Noble was born.
So did you started on Twitch then, right? Is that how you started your platform, or did you just build it and then?
We actually had a team at through COD. That was my first introduction into esports. At I think it was Anaheim 2014, and we actually had a team there. We started a little on Twitch, but it was more we picked up a team automatically. That team did not bode well. We started to get way more into the esports scene, and picked up a couple of different teams, looked at different players, got was introduced to other players in the scene. People started to know who we were. We had, yeah, obviously, I had a bunch of experience behind me. I was learning from the other people that were with us at that point. And that's really how it was built. We did have a presence on Twitch, but nothing huge. Nothing compared to where it is now that we have, over 80 streamers on Twitch, between our pros and our stream team. It was more so that we picked up a team and then moved forward with inside the esports space.
That's kind of interesting. I feel like now it seems like you almost not have to start on Twitch, but you kind of start on that platform, and then you kind of grow out, and then you get your team, and then you roll with the punches as they go down the line. But it's interesting. You already had a team. You already kind of in the scene, and your wife plays, which is amazing. I mean, everybody loves video games. It looks like in your family.
Yeah, definitely.
But before we get too in depth on Noble itself, some tips maybe starting out. Is money a big factor? Is it the passion? Something that if somebody's watching this interview, what tip can you give them, or tips that you can give them right off the bat, that if they want to run a business, if they want to do something like Noble, what can you recommend to them?
Recommendation, true recommendation is understand what you're getting into. It is not just, hey, I have an esports org and I'm going to, I'm going to put all these people in place and it's going to be awesome. This is a true business. It needs to be run like a business. There's a number of different things that happen on a daily basis that could cause issues for you further down the line. Infrastructure is a huge thing. And I'll let Mike allude to that right now. I mean, he's the infrastructure guy.
Yeah, so I mean, like Paul was saying, starting out an esports organization is more than just picking a team and then figuring out what platform you want to go on. What game genre. I mean, you really need to look at it like, number one, what all of these things are, esports organizations, YouTube channels, they're marketing mediums. Okay, that's what they are. That's what we do, right? We market companies through our platforms that we have ownership over to give them visibility and to grow their demographics and give them a larger line to actually get their products and services through versus traditional, dumping all their money into one niche thing. Okay, so that's the first thing. You have to understand what this is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is you have to start building from the ground floor, a traditional business. You have to have people around you that you can trust. You have to have people who are actually competent and who can complete tasks. It's like, again, a traditional business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So infrastructure is a big thing. Standardized contracts, a contact management system, CRM, using Google Docs. I mean, all the little nuances and things that are not fun, right? People think esports is like, oh, we're going to get a team. We're going to go to a LAN event. We get to stream. This is awesome, guys, And they forget about everything else. Everything. All the stuff that keeps people up at night, right?
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with people, right? So essentially, like Noble, we're about to have 8 titles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's 60 employees.
Dang.
Okay. So you have to be able to know how to manage those people, encourage them, be a mentor, give them direction. So that's running a business, right?
Yeah,
That's what we do.
And that's more than just, oh, we won a title. No, there's more to it than that. So infrastructure is a big thing. It's probably what I would say, honestly, one of the most important things above being competent in your respective space where you're at, right? Whether it's a MOBA or a console-based space.
Mm-hmm.
Infrastructure, number one.
Now, when you say titles, can you just explain what you mean by titles if people don't know what
Like,
you're talking about?
Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, Smite, Counter Strike, Call of Duty, Halo, whatever. Um, Having legitimacy in those spaces, meaning you actually place top eight, right?
Hmm.
It's more than just that.
You actually own the team, you manage the team, you run the team, you make these decisions,
You're 100%
everything.
responsible for those people,
Hmm.
booking their hotel flight, booking their hotels, paying for their airfares, getting them their apparel, their jerseys, making sure that they're signed up for their online LAN tournaments, making sure that their needs are met, whether it's a controller, whether it's a PC, whether it's peripherals, headset, keyboard, and mice. It is a lot to do.
Yeah.
Which leads me right to the next question. So, when we were talking prior to this, you mentioned that you didn't really have a business partner which you could bounce ideas off of, and somebody that you could really talk to before you found Mike. Was that hard for you? You said you had people along the way. Is there anybody that really was like, wow, if I didn't have this person, I don't know, I'd be insane right now?
I'm gonna give a shout out right here, and there was another person here, and that person we have helped also along the way, as he started his own esports organization, and his name is Jeremy. He was one of the only people that truly understood the scene
Hmm.
and had business sense about him, and helped guide me up into the point where we were able to bring Mike in, and then from that point of having Mike and Jeremy, I personally felt like we were unstoppable. Um, he's now we still are doing business with a couple of other initiatives, but we fully support him. He's had a great opportunity to be CEO of his own esports organization, and we support him 100%. Even though he's not fully here in Noble anymore, but we still talk every day. And any questions that he has or anything that he needs, me and Mike are both at his disposal. It The thing that you will find within, or at least the thing that I have found with inside this space so far, is that um, loyalty and understanding is a big issue. There has been a number of organizations that have done things to hurt players instead of help them, and a lot of players have become jaded. So it slowly creeps into the entire community as a whole. Um, what we're doing here is something a little different by giving that mentorship, by giving that understanding, and building that family base, or and this is my opinion, of course, is that I feel like we do things differently, than other organizations. Me and Mike being both owners of Noble, um, a lot of the times these people, the players, the under management, sponsors, you don't really have a true connection with the guys that are on the top. um Me and Mike are available to everybody at all times. Every single player, every single streamer, um you know from our design team all the way to our branding company, our marketing and branding company. Everybody has our cell phone numbers. Everybody has our Skypes, our Twitters. At some given point, you're able to get a hold of one of us pretty much 24 hours a day. And we answer. There's been times where I've had players that had personal issues, family issues, that have called me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've sat on the phone with them until 6 o'clock in the morning just to make sure that they were okay. I don't see that happening with a lot of other esports entities that are out there right now, and I think it really comes down to the part of the lost art of communication.
Hmm.
With technology, everybody has kind of unplugged, and I think that's where me and Mike truly excel, is that both me and him are used to having meetings with higher level people and going into boardrooms and speaking in symposiums and having that human connection, not just through a screen, not just through social media.
Mhm.
And I think that that's truly what's lost here. People become very guarded because their lives are, you know, their lives are basically structured around 144 characters.
No, I agree. To add on to that, actually, I mentioned this before we started the interview, but no, you guys, especially Mike, I was been talking to Mike for the last 2 weeks, and you guys are Mike personally. I've just met you today, Recon. No offense, but Mike, I reached out to Mike. I said, hey, I was doing this thing, Chalk Talk with Tony, and he was really responsive. He's really quick on answering back, and it's just amazing that I have the opportunity to not be ran around by PR people. I mean, I was told who to talk to, who to contact, and lo and behold, it's the people that own the company, people who make the decisions, people who just will pretty much go out, guide the future. And I just think that's truly amazing that, you know, you guys are the ones that are talking. You guys, you know, are family. Not to me, but to your streamers, to your team, and whatnot.
That's the way that we really truly feel is that we are a family. Again, I'm available constantly, and have even put my personal life aside to make sure that things and Mike has done the same thing to make sure that things get taken care of the way that they need to get taken care of. We offer a lot of benefits with inside Noble that other organizations don't offer. And I think it's, that truly that communication is a huge bonus, is something that really does not get done. I'm not saying that any of the organizations out there that you're not going to talk to the owners, but not to the level that I feel like that we're a part of. We truly try to be there and be as responsive as possible. We have weekly meetings with our teams. I speak with pretty much every single one of the players almost every day. The streamers, again, have access to us constantly. Trickle down effect. It goes from our media manager, our live media manager, to me. Mike is available to everybody. Obviously, as you see yourself personally, he was available and made sure that things got taken care of. I think it really is a true testament to the ideals of building out a structure and understanding what you're getting into before you get into it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. So moving forward now, it's actually your 1 year, or you just had your 1 year anniversary now in Noble Esports. You have this structure,
Correct.
you have this platform now. Uh, when did you kind of venture off into Twitch? You said at the beginning that you didn't really start on Twitch. You had your own team. Now you have so many streamers now on your team, and you're growing and growing and growing. When did you make that step, or when did you decide, hey, we're gonna have to move to Twitch, or hey, this is a move that I wanted to do to go to Twitch?
Um, we again obviously see where things are going. Esports has grown over the last couple of years exponentially. Visibility and Noble, knowing what Noble is, not pretending that we're something greater than we are. We are a marketing medium. We have teams. Those teams market for our sponsors and our potential sponsors, and gives us visibility within those market spaces. Um, we looked at it, and I've known of Twitch for a long time. I have friends who have been at Twitch since the beginning, through Y Combinator. So I was always in contact with Twitch, but never felt that we were ready to really push it through. We've had a couple of sprinkles of people on Twitch streaming that were already doing it, that we had brought under the banner. But it got to a point where, again, we felt that the infrastructure was ready, that, you know, we had the people in place that we needed to have in place, and started conversations with Twitch. And through my connections of being within the gaming industry for such a long time, it was a very easy process. Not to say that it's going to be easy for everyone else. We are very fortunate to be in the positions that we are, and to that I've been able to build the relationships that have helped us along the way. And Twitch has been great for us, working together with us as a technology partner, um, helping guide us through some of the areas with inside this industry that are still very very wild west, I guess you could say. Um, yeah,
That's a good analogy.
right. Um, you know, they've been a great help, and you know, we're very fortunate to be with them as a sponsor.
Hmm. So talking about sponsors, I know money is a big ordeal and whatnot. When it comes to sponsors, and I'm not going to go, like I said, too much into this, but do you approach sponsors, or I'm guessing sponsors approach you all the time, but when you were first starting out, were there certain sponsors or certain people that you really wanted to like try and get under your belt? Does it work similar to like if you're like a race car driver? I guess that's the best way, real world example. Is it like you reach out to these sponsors and then they're like, oh, you're legitimate, you're going to be good, and I can see potential growth, and then they sponsor you? Or was it more like, hey, we see you, your name in Twitch, or not Twitch, but in the esports industry already, we want to be your sponsor?
It's honestly a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I mean, like I said, this industry, the way that organizations make their money, right? I mean, that's probably that's the question you're asking us.
Hmm.
Is by utilizing your brand as a marketing medium, right? So what that means is that by growing your digital footprint, Twitch was one of the initiatives. Okay, Twitch is one, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, pretty much all the social media platforms are free forms of marketing. So you utilize those to their max potential and you grow out your digital footprint. So in turn, you become a true marketing medium. So either as you grow and you start to get your name out there and your visibility increases, sponsors will approach you. Now, does that mean that we're going to work with them? Not all of them. Um, and we'll approach some that we want to work with. Obviously, peripheral companies, PC companies, headset companies, anything that makes sense for what we're doing, but will also allow us to have the financial influx to support our teams, because that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that their hotels are taken care of, their flights. Some of them, as they develop in the industry, uh, are warranted salaries
Hmm.
because of their level of ability and visibility themselves. So we need to make sure that we work with companies that allow us to do that, right?
Hmm.
When you start out, and Paul can attest to this, it's all self-funded and it's highly expensive.
Yes, extremely,
Okay.
extremely expensive.
So, but the reality of it is, and this is the misconception that a lot of people have, is that they think esports orgs make their money off of tournament winnings. That's completely absurd. Not, there is only a small percentile of esports orgs that can actually make a living or fund themselves off of tournament winnings alone. It's a very, very, very select few. So the rest of them, if they're running their org efficiently, are going to utilize it as, again, a marketing medium.
I,
So that's where sponsors come into play, because they're using you as their NASCAR,
yeah.
essentially.
When Noble started, um, the sponsors that we had were literally friends of mine. I personally, and you know, to this day still personally fund Noble, out of my own pocket. We're What we're doing is that we're building with a number of different sponsors right now, and that is changing. But it's taken this you know, long amount of time, to really get to a place where we can demand funds from sponsors. um, you know, because it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout this time, when we started this, I literally went through my Rolodex of people that I've worked with and that I've helped throughout the years inside the gaming industry, and said, hey, listen, I started this initiative. I need some visibility and I need some help. Can you help me? And a couple of people automatically came on. There wasn't a financial obligation that they helped with, but it was more so the visibility of what of where they already in these spaces, to help us grow.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of people have, again, very fortunate that I've been with inside the industry and made those connections, and those connections helped us get to where we are today and are going to get us to that next level. Not a lot of people have that ability, but it shouldn't deter them from trying to build out and start their own initiatives. Again, though, be very wary. Um, it is a business, and it does take a lot of your time. It does take a lot of your money. And one thing that I think one thing that people don't realize is that the emotional stress that is behind dealing with any type of business is there. It's not all fun and games.
Mm-hmm.
And people just, they, again, hey, yay, it's gaming. We're going to have a bunch of fun and do all these things. It's a business, just like any other business. I've for years, people have come to me, personally. Oh my God, you work at this company, you work at that company. It must be awesome, and I look at them and say, a job is a job.
Mm-hmm.
That and that's truly how I feel. Is there perks of being at specific jobs? Yeah. I mean, of course. But a job is a job. And while you're working that job, even if it's something that you truly love, it still weighs a toll on you personally. You have things that are expected of you as a person to complete those tasks and those jobs that you're getting paid for. There's been times where I've worked 16-hour days for 3 months straight, sleeping under my desk, because we had deadlines that had to be met for titles that were going to be released. Um, it sucks, but that's what real life, boils down to, is that you some people are lucky and they fall into their careers. Some people work extremely hard at them. Um, you do it for a reason, and the reason is so that you can survive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes you're lucky, and you get to be in a position where you can have fun, and it doesn't have such a huge strain on you. But there's still real life, personal relationships, family, work. It's all of those things come into play. Mike has a family, I have a family, but we still run Noble as a true business, and put number of hours, an exorbitant number of hours, to making sure that this business survives.
Hmm. Uh, I have a few questions. I guess we can go back to Mike. Mike said something earlier about a digital footprint, and I know these may sound basic questions or silly questions, but can you explain to people who are like, what is a digital footprint? Why is this important that you want to grow this? I know it has to work with the social medias, it has to work with online, but for people that don't know, just a little detail of what a digital footprint is.
Sure, absolutely. So what a digital footprint is it basically means what areas digitally, internet based are where's your visibility line? Like how big are you digitally? Because the industry, even in traditional business practices, have shifted. Um, Startup companies and even larger companies now are focusing on marketing, our digital marketing initiatives. They're utilizing social media white websites to get visibility to their products and services. So if you're in this industry and you want to have an influx of income to support your teams, and obviously the end all goal to support yourself, you have to build out your digital footprint. So specifically what I mean by that is website, and your website, your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your Twitch, growing those out. You know, really getting granular, seeing where your analytics are. What's your total overall views on YouTube? What do your impressions look like on Twitter? You know, how many followers do you have on Instagram? How active are those platforms? That's having a strong digital footprint, because then in turn, and I'm giving away the goods here, but you know, I want to educate the masses. You take those numbers and you couple them, and then you approach your numbers on a collective across these platforms. These are my demographics, right? 14 to 25, 25 to 45, depending on what game title you're in. These are the geographical locations of my demographics. This is why you should work with us to advertise your products through our mediums, because we're going to increase your audience and visibility by X amount of numbers. That's why having a strong digital footprint is important and imperative for, you know, positive growth in the esports industry.
Guys are taking notes now. Everybody's like pausing the video, rewinding it. All right, digital footprint. Okay, I gotta get that down. No, but so talking about experience, and you guys, time and time again, keep mentioning experience and all this. When it comes to Noble, we talked about this, of course, off the recording, but you mentioned that everybody in Noble has a very big, strong background, one way or another, if it be in marketing or it has some kind of business background. Is there a reason behind that? Is there why do they need this experience? Is it just you personally want that much experience on your team, or just like the people you know just kind of came along, like you said, you were lucky, you had these people and they just kind of joined on your team, or you're like I said, it's just kind of what you want, your idea of what you want to run as a business.
Well, I mean, put people in leadership positions, if they lack the experience to complete those tasks, then you're going to be back to square one. So we either train them, right, which I do and have done, and coach them and mentor them, or you're lucky enough to come across somebody that actually has some business experience that understands the importance of getting certain tasks completed, whether it's data entry, whether it's contract drafting, whether it's gathering information from the players, you know, whatever needs to be done, the ability to follow through is invaluable. Because so often there's a lot of people who get in this business, or they get in esports because they want the digital pat on the back, they want the Twitter followers, they want the admiration from the fan base. Oh, you're with that org? That's awesome, man. And they lack follow through. And that's when things go awry, because things don't get done. So you have to have a kind of a balance, right? You don't want to have a robot working with you, but you also don't want to have somebody that's in La La Land either.
Of course, of course.
So experience plays a key role in that, because typically if somebody has experience in business, it's because they had something in them to have focus, to have follow through.
So most of your team, if not all your team, at least has at least 10 years experience, if not more, one way or another in business.
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
No. Two of the guys that we're bringing up, one of them is going to school for business.
Okay.
And another one's actually managed a music, and he's had to deal with a lot of on-the-go decisions, dealing with high-level sponsors and investors. So he understands follow-through. The other piece of the puzzle was a gentleman that I worked with for 2 years. He actually has like 10 years of esports experience, and he's been able to put together some championship teams.
Okay.
So we try to, you know, to be honest with you, like finding a bunch of people with 10 years of experience in business is hard in this industry. It's difficult.
So you guys were lucky, as you mentioned, you guys bounced ideas off of each other. You you know, ran into each other. You worked with each other, and you, like you said, you talked for hours. And now that you're president, you is there change coming in the future? You mentioned that we will be seeing a new website soon, as we talked about a bit.
Right, that's correct. So what we did is we were limited on resources to be able to take ourselves to the next level. We made some friendships within the industry. I'll give a shout out, Enemy Esports. Um, they actually introduced us to Fusion Esports, and what they do is they do brand management. So we spoke with Fusion, and they have a lot of high level contacts, and they understand from a branding perspective what these companies are looking for, because that's the next level, right? I mean, LCS is the ultimate in this industry.
Okay.
Um, so we signed a contract with them, and they're actually giving us what I like to call a facelift. I mean, they're building us a new website. They're completely redoing all of our social media branding, all of our all of our streaming branding, doing some content creation and articles. So we did that because we knew we kind of could foresee where things were going,
Hmm.
and we needed to bring in people like that to take us to that next level.
Okay.
So that's where the whole website thing's coming into play. And if you look at our Twitter, we're going to be doing a really large giveaway the day of the website launch. It's like $1,000 in prizes.
And do you have an estimated time your website will be up and running and
I,
functional, or
we're hoping within a week and a half
a week and a half from today, which is
from
6/18?
today.
Okay, just making
Right.
sure. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So when you guys are making decisions, you two personally, you is it difficult? I mean, you said you guys work and you just bounce each other, and it's almost like you take the words out of each other's mouth. So does he kind? I don't know how to really word this question, but when you come up with an idea, or you're coming up with a sponsor that you want to work with, or you want to do this with the company, or make this decision, is it go through the process? Like you have these weekly meetings. You said, is it?
Well, we actually have daily. Paul and I have daily meetings because we're kind of on two different schedules. So I'm married with a daughter. I'm typically asleep by like 11:30 p.m. Central, and because I get up every day at like 5:30. So whatever happens after 11:30, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a message from a potential sponsor or an investor, he brings me up to speed in the morning. And then we just kind of have our daily chit chat because we're not, it's not in a traditional setting. Like we're not in an office, right? We can't go to
Mhm.
an office every day and, hang out and have coffee at the boardroom. That's not a reality right now. So we have calls every day. And during those calls, we go over the day to days, and then we just start to kind of brainstorm on, what needs to happen next. And sometimes he calls me like, Debbie Downer, because they'll come up with an idea, and I'm a very analytical guy, and I'll start to run the gamut on, okay, well, what if this happens? No, let's look at it this way. I like to have assurances. I like to dissect and dissect and dissect and dissect until I know that we have the correct plan of action for success. Like I don't have to do anything. I double check my double checks, right?
Mhm.
You have to be that way, specifically in a very, very young market space like esports. You can't, just jump on something and just say, okay, let's do it, and not have assurances or have an understanding of what's going to happen, 90 days to 6 months to a year. All of the business plans that we come up with, I've already kind of looked at where we're going to be in 90 days from that particular initiative.
Okay.
So I'm constantly playing chess.
So the communication's like really open. I mean, every day you're contacted. It's not like
Absolutely.
a month-to-month thing. It's like, oh, here's our monthly meeting. So
No,
today,
it's a daily thing.
daily
We
thing.
have
Me and Mike talk every single day for multiple hours during the day.
you you kind of seem annoyed. You're like, man, I don't. This guy just won't go away.
Yeah. No, we again have been extremely fortunate to work so well together, um, and with inside that working relationship, have also built a friendship, which I think is extremely important too. I trust Mike to build Noble with me, and to go into meetings and to speak with people about our organization without me having to be there. And that's something that, again, I don't feel a lot of other organizations have. We're extremely fortunate in the things that we have done, the initiatives that we have been able to achieve, and with the people that we've been able to bring inside the organization. It's built on trust. And it's extremely hard to do that, and I know that in the beginning of doing this, it was extremely hard to trust anybody. Me and Mike and Jeremy, who's not here, in this conversation, we've been very fortunate to be able to trust each other, the advice, the understanding, the experience that we've all had. We don't make decisions that don't make sense, and there has been times that collectively, and it goes from lower management people to as high as me and Mike, where we've sat down and had a collective meetings. What does everybody think of this? Now, we already know what we want to do. But there has been times where even me being the top guy in Noble, I've been vetoed because collectively we agreed to do something else. Where I said, you know what, maybe that's right. So I'm going to go with it. And has it worked out? Yes. It's a huge trust factor. And because esports is so new and there's so much volatility within inside this space right now, it's really hard to trust anyone. Again, extremely fortunate that we've been able to find people that are loyal, are trustworthy. We found some that have not been. you know. We've had some people that have not been to the moral compass. I guess didn't have the same moral compass as the rest of us have had. But they've been removed quickly. So yeah, I mean, it's loyalty, trust, understanding, and there is no end all be all. I mean, in the time that we've been together, has there been a time, Mike, that we have not made a decision together and made sure that we both agreed on it and that everybody agreed on it?
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's been one time where it's like, no, we have to do this, and there's been a disagreement. I mean, I'm sure there's going to come a time in any relationship that's going to happen. But again, we're going to look at it, take the emotion out of it and look at it just from a true business standpoint. How is that going to affect what we're going to do as a bottom line? And it always comes down to that. How does this affect what current decisions that we're making right now are going to affect us in 30 days, in 60 days, and 90 days? That we look at that every single time that we make a decision. And I think that that's what really kind of helps us mold what we're doing and keeps us down the right path.
So the real question is Mike a Debbie Downer or not?
Oh, that's awesome.
Mike can be a Debbie Downer sometimes. But that's why this works. that's why this works so well, is because Mike is so business orientated that um he refocuses me into things that we need to do. I truly feel when me and Mike put our heads together, we've come out with winners every single time.
Hmm.
Every time. Um and that has been him driving the business, and then me with the personal relationships that I've had with our players and our sponsors, and molding both of those together, um to where, yeah, there's been times where I'm like, come on, Mike, are you sure? Is this really what we need to do? And he's like, yeah, this is what we need to do. It's like, okay, fine, we'll do it. You know? But again, it always works down to the bottom line.
What's interesting is how Paul says I center him. Coming into this, he's actually softened me up because I used to be a lot more like numbers, right? Like, I mean, very, very, very business, and some of the players honestly were intimidated by me. And I was like, I felt bad. I was like, why? Because of my Abby on my Twitter. I mean, I'm smiling there. No, I'm just, I mean, and so I learned that in this industry specifically, you kind of you have to walk on a tightrope, right? You have to be business when you need to be business, and you have to be approachable when you need to be approachable, right? So because I'm more of the business and Paul is more of the approachable, it's a perfect match, right? Like it makes 100% sense. It just works. It just absolutely works. So like when we look at contracts, or if we're going into negotiations with something, I'm like the bad cop, right? We play good cop, bad cop, and I'll be very forward and speak my mind in the negotiations, and Paul comes back and softens the conversation up. Then I come back and I'm very forward again. So they're sitting there like they don't know what to think, and they're just like, all right, take our money, geez, you know. But that's how you have to be. You have to be that, and then that also comes into play too. If things aren't working out with a sponsor or a player, that's when, yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's when it's like the next conversation is going to be with Mike. Unfortunately, we don't like to do that a lot, but sometimes it has to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm completely emotionally disconnected. I mean, I'm like, this is a business.
I mean, I think we've established, not to cut you off, but I think we've established that it is a business. It's not something that, like you said earlier, you just can't willy-dilly around, just have that Twitter fame or that, that team fame, whatever that may be, and then just be like, all right, forget about everything else. We'll worry about it when it comes, and then it comes, and then, you're kind of stuck. You don't have anything. You don't have no footprint, as he said.
Absolutely.
But it looks like he's got a loving relationship, one way or another, a good business relationship. But so when it comes to teams, I read your Twitter. I'm trying to figure out how many teams do you own currently, or how many teams are, I guess, sponsored by you? I'm guessing you're more of a sponsor for a team than owning them, or do you own teams?
We sponsor teams. There are some teams that are under contract for extended periods of time.
Okay.
But again, we're looking at this as a business, so of course we want to make sure that the things that we're doing actually make sense. So yeah, I mean, they're sponsored teams, own teams. I mean, it's basically it's the same thing when you really get down to it. We support them financially, and emotionally, to get done what they need to get done.
So, do you own an LCS team? You said that was your ultimate goal. I'm guessing you're working towards that, or?
We are working towards that right now. We don't want to put too many things out there, but yeah, there are things in the works.
So we're gonna see like a noble esports team roll through and take top spot in LCS NA. Hoorah!
Uh, uh, one day, when we're ready. And again, I feel like that's something that a lot of people just don't do. They are not. They just think that, hey, it's, it's all fun and games, and it's not. People are not ready for what this truly involves.
So one day, so when people are gonna come back, watch this video, and be like, "You were supposed to be top spot. Why
Yeah.
aren't you number one?"
It's great to potentially be number one. But it's it's hard. Every team has its own composition. And sometimes it takes a while to figure out what pieces are going to fit with inside that puzzle, whether that be play style, whether that be personalities. It's like any other sports team, any other competitive um genre that's out there in a team event. um you rely on the guy that's next to you to perform the way that he needs to perform for you guys to succeed. Sometimes that does not happen.
Mhm.
And it's sad sometimes when it does not happen, where you have guys who have worked so hard to get to a point, um and other people don't step up. But um you can't expect everybody to step up every single time. um Everybody needs to work as a collective. And again, goes back to the things that we've been drilling down this entire interview, is that if you have the structure in place and that you look at this as a true business, we try to deal with people that want to do this.
Mhm.
Not, hey, oh, this would be cool. Oh, I have some skill. Oh, I want to do this stuff. That have a true desire, that want to win, that want to achieve their goals, and achieve them with us. Not for us, with us.
Mhm.
Which again, I think is a big difference of other organizations. Where we would love to have the number one team in every single category. Who wouldn't? Um, we
Excuse me.
feel that eventually we'll get there. Um, we're not going to force it.
That's a
One thing I want to interject here really quick. One thing that I uh, and we like to see, and what we're actually pushing for, and that's kind of where we talked about the mentorship program, is we don't want our players to necessarily just be champions in the term of winning titles. We want them to be successful business owners.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, really focusing that individually they have a brand, their persona that they portray in that perspective space, whether it be Smite, Halo, or whatever. They have the ability individually to become marketing mediums themselves, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of high profile players that were competitive gamers, and because they built out their own branding and their own digital footprint, they're highly successful individuals now. So we instill that into them, not only strive for success in winning tournaments, but also striving success in their own individual branding. So like, if our guys, let's say, never win the number one championship, but they're really, really, really on top in terms of their streaming, their social media, their content creation. Those are champions to me because they walked away with an understanding of business.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, Mike just hit it on the nail on the head. We have a number of teams, and we support those teams to the best of our abilities, and we're there, and we do things that we feel are necessary. Um, I've said it a million times to the teams, to the individual players. I don't care if you place first every single time. I really don't. Um, it would be great, but just don't give up on me.
Hmm.
As long as you guys play to the best of your ability, that's all that I care about. Because eventually it'll come to a point where you will take first every single time. If you truly want it, if you truly work at it, it'll happen. Desire and determination is what makes champions. Um, and understanding that sometimes it's not going to happen. And, some people need to really look and reevaluate, can I continue doing this? Is this really what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? And it's something that we work towards to help, again, putting in the mentorship. Is this something that you really want to do for the rest of your life? We promote education above all. Um, there is a very small percent of gamers and teams that are going to be extremely dominant and have the ability to financially support themselves through gaming. It's increasing. Trust me, it's increasing with platforms like Twitch, where players can generate funds to help support them. It's getting a lot easier. But when it comes to, you know, real life, again, us being older, we look at the longevity of this, and not everybody is going to be a champion. Not everyone is going to be able to parlay it into development gigs at publishers, or caster gigs for large organizations that run tournaments. um it doesn't happen for everybody. So let's be realistic. What are you going to do if this doesn't work out? And we have that conversation with almost every single player that comes aboard with us.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, we look at it and have that real talk with people, and push them towards education, and not to say that that's the end all be all, having a trade, going to college, going to trade school, being a mechanic, being a plumber. That's all of those things are necessary things, but you should always look at the longevity of what you're going to do and how you're going to survive when you get older.
Hmm. So school's important, guys. You heard it here first. You got the guys that's been experienced right here telling you. But no, I agree. School is very important. I think a lot of people, like you said, time and time again through this interview, is that they think that, oh, I'm a really good gamer. I'll join this team and I'll become this professional gamer and make tons of money, and long down the road, they didn't make the team, and this happened, and now they don't have schooling, or they don't have any kind of traits to, get them a job in the real world, and they're stuck in a rut. And I totally agree. I totally agree. But going to my next question, you talk about teams and you talk about players. Do you guys personally recruit the players? Like when you have a team, not any specific team, it doesn't matter. Do you guys recruit the players, or do you have somebody that's like under you that recruits the players and then lets you know about this player, and then you like scope them out? How does that all work?
uh that's interesting as well, is that we've again been very fortunate to surround ourselves with people that want to do this and want to work with us, and that we mentor. So when it comes down to being involved with the player bases, that's generally falls down to me. I've been the person that goes and talks to the people that are on our teams, and they might present somebody to me. We're and every team has its own dynamic. So when we look at this, we might have 4 guys that work together and 1 guy that's just not working out. We've sat down, and it's probably one of the hardest things to do is to go and tell someone, in essence, they're fired. You know, and to potentially even crush that dream of being a pro one day. But you have to look at the overall good of not only that team, but the org, the health of the org. Every single part that is running here is a machine. Every single team is a cog in that machine. If one cog is out of whack, it could affect the entire org. So we very diplomatically sit down with the entire team, talk with people, and those people that we have dealt with so far have positioned us with other people and got us into the scenes. I've met a number of different pros, and have worked with a number of different pros that I've watched on Twitch and watched, you know, MLG Saturday Night Halo Championships, you know, stuff like that. You know, people that I've personally idolized. I've been very fortunate to be able to be injected into those scenes and get to know these people, and they get to know me, and then recruit, which is arguably one of the hardest things to do inside esports, because it pulls into, not only are you representing the org, but you're representing yourself and you're representing a team. So, you know, you have all of these different aspects, all of these different things that are going on, and everyone that you deal with, you find this same thing where it's, they have a desire, but are they truly dedicated? And you have to figure that out, and that's probably one of the hardest things to figure out. Are they truly dedicated in the craft that they want to do? Because I could sit here and tell you, oh man, I'm gonna go pro in Halo or in Smite or in Heroes of the Storm. I know I'm gonna do it, but are you truly dedicated? Are you really going to fill your life around that? Obviously, not taking away from your personal obligations, but, you know, are you going to do that? There are a select few that truly do that. And those are the guys that you see grinding on stream. Those are the guys that you see in the top 10 of, you know, the challenger scenes, of the pro scenes. Those are the guys that you see. All these guys in COD that are on these top teams, they grind it out. Players that are in the LCS are in the LCS for a reason. You know, yes, they have skill, but they also have dedication.
That's a very big part. That desire, that want, and then really putting towards it. If you, like you said, just like you've talked about throughout the whole interview, it's like, do you really want it? You gotta really want it and understand it and build off that and keep building it. I agree. Not to dwell too much on the players, but one thing I find interesting when working with pro players, social media can be atrocious, especially if a team's not doing well or a player's not doing well.
Yeah.
What is your take on social media? What do you tell your players about social media? Because you said you want them to build this digital footprint. You want them to have this business ordeal where they use their YouTube, they use their Twitter, but at the same time, you know, when they use their YouTube and they use their Twitter, as I said, social media is atrocious at times, where it's just like, you suck, get out of here, why are you on the team, you know, all whatever the case may be. And even worse than that,
I was gonna say that's actually not bad.
I'm being tame, but I'm sure it will get worse.
Social media has become the new soapbox. You know, we promote the players with inside our organization to go over and individually brand themselves, because again, we're realistic. Not every single person that is on Noble today is going to be on Noble a year from now. It's the facts of life. You know, we would love for everybody to stay. it might not work out. There, you know, down the road, there might be an offer, and this has happened to us, where there's been offers where players have been, you know, given a tremendous amount more than we can offer them, where, you know, with open arms say, love you, man, you know, you gotta do you,
Hmm.
and we're not going to hold you back. There has also been circumstances where there's been players who have not held up their end of the obligation and have utilized social media as a way to um, pressure a situation um, for their favor. And it has happened a number of times, and I see it happen very often. And and one thing that I think that, you know, uh without getting too far into it, one thing that I really feel, being an owner, being injected into this scene, trying to build within this scene, is that um there needs to be a higher level of moral obligation. um if you have a problem with your team, a teammate, the org, it should be handled with those people, not on social media, because the perception of what you're doing and who you are can be swung
Hmm.
in less than 30 seconds.
Hmm.
Yep.
And for guys like us, that sit here and put all these hours, our time, our effort, our money into building something so that these teams and these players can go and achieve their goals, can be tore down in a matter of minutes because they're pissed off that they signed an agreement and didn't want to fulfill their end of it. It I mean, you're technically hurting the guys who you said that you loved 5 minutes ago. You know, and it happens so often.
Right. So I mean, during the time of said turmoil, it hurts, right?
Hmm.
But then once it's over and you really evaluate the situation, you realize, okay, wow, that person's character is in judgment by their own admission.
Hmm.
So then you understand, okay, it was a good thing that that happened because you don't want to be tied to those people who don't have a moral compass, right?
Hmm.
So, yes, social media is a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Um, just to, I kind of sounds like the same question, but so when it comes to players and the people that they interact with, depending on the player, I guess it's the fame and their digital footprint. How do you help them? Like, how do you help them deal with like all the criticism they get from social media? Like, they may be on a bad team, or the team just might have did bad, whatever the case may be, and they're representing, you know, Noble, and then you just have these fans or supposed fans, quote unquote, and
The bandwagon.
bandwagon, and they just are attacking this player. Is there coaching for that? Do you tell them like tips to, oh, you shouldn't go on social media for a while, or maybe you want to avoid this, or maybe do you want us to tweet for you? Are there,
We're aware of things like that. We're aware of what, you know, if we foresee something happening, you know, we have done it a number of times, prepped those players, you know, and those teams. Hey, listen, now this is potentially what's happening. Look at the say, because not only are you representing yourself, but you're representing the organization. So, you know, one of the lines that I've used number of times to a number of different players is, if you wouldn't want your mom to see you say that, don't say it.
okay.
Think about what you're going to say before you say it.
Right.
Always take a step back, because emotion, you can't let your emotion run wild. Sometimes it happens and you want to lash out and say things, you know, he didn't do this, or, you know, screw that guy, or, you know, but you have to look at the situations as a whole. You're still within this space. Do you want to be labeled as someone that they can't work with? You know, you have skill, but is your skill enough? You know, you have to, you methodically have to go through what you're doing and really pay attention to it, because people see this and see it down the line as well.
Mm-hmm.
You are, unfortunately now, you are what you put out on social media,
Mm-hmm.
perception. So if people see that you're a negative person, they automatically have a negative connotation about you. If people see that you're a positive person, the reverse. It's, we believe in positivity here. We truly believe in that. We try not to have any negative connotations. It's on a very, very rare, and I've done it myself. It's on a very rare occasion you will see me say anything to anybody personally on Twitter. It has happened, you know, and the new love of subtweeting, you see that all over the place. You know, it's on a very rare occasion that you will see anything like that come out of this camp. Not to say that it hasn't happened, and not to say that it will never happen. Um, but it's on a very, very small scale, to where I look at other people's social media and I'm like, Jesus, what is this guy doing? Like, I just don't understand. Um, I don't think that everybody with Inside Esports needs to know every time I'm going to the bathroom. I again very rarely put out personal information, um, only because of the space that we're in, and because of the moral compass of other people in the space. So it's, business, business, business. And, hey, I'm at an event, or I'm with some friends at a concert, or I'm with my fiance and our friends, and you might see a snapshot or of our head of human resources, Noble Bain, who is our 6-month-old puppy. um you'll see pictures of that. Other than that, though, social media should be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is, it is a marketing medium. It is for that visibility, and people take it to the next level sometimes, and
Right.
it's scary.
I
It's
mean,
extremely scary.
once in a while we'll have like we'll joke around with each other and post memes and gifs and stuff, uh, which it can be useful. It can attract attention as long as it's a positive attention. Just to kind of it just be funny, right? Post something like a funny meme about something. But like what Paul's saying is, yeah, for the majority of the time, it's business. It's retweeting our streamers, retweeting our pros, interaction with players, but people, hey, DM, kind of like us, how we connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's majority of what it's used for. And you can't babysit your players, man. You cannot constantly be coddling your players. I mean, that would be a full-time job in itself, you know. So you kind of have to let them learn a little bit, and it's if they act inappropriately, then again, it's a good way to judge. Okay, well, that person's character is in question now. Do we really want to continue to be with that person, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good way to filter through the true professionals, so to speak, if they really want to like be at the top at their particular craft.
Mm-hmm. So in the future, we're gonna look for a noble babysitter, if anyone's interested.
That's a social media manager. Sorry.
But no, I guess the toughest question now that I have throughout this interview is looking into the future, and it's always hard to predict the future, of course, but 5 years down the line, maybe even 10 if you want to really push it down there. I know it's hard to answer, really hard to see, because of course, like you said, I mean, a month from now things could be totally different, but where do you guys see yourself? Do you guys see, of course you see, I hope you see you growing, but is there goals that you have set forward? Is there, like you said, you got the website coming along now, you're looking for an LCS team in 5 years? Do you have things set in plan? Do you have something?
Well,
we can't release a lot of things that
yeah.
we're
Some of the things that we have planned are actually sooner than 5 years.
Okay.
They're big kind of wow type stuff that we can't talk about. But I will tell you that keep an eye on us because in 6 months we'll be in a completely different space. Within 90 days, we're going to be in a completely different space. But in 6 months, yeah, way different space. And then within a year, wow. That's all I can tell you is that there's a lot of things that Paul and I are doing while we're putting in all these hours. We're building these relationships with companies and other people within the industry to accomplish these set of initiatives that we're putting a lot into. That is
Mm.
big deal type stuff, and it's going to take us to that next level. But those things we cannot. I mean, I wish we could share them with you, man. I might send you an NDA and tell you offline, but yeah, I can tell you it's a very, very, very exciting times. That's all I can say.
Yeah, we have to be very careful, and I think that that's something else that a lot of people don't do. They just kind of like release everything that they're doing, and there's again that moral compass of other people that if they see people doing well, playing in their sandbox, they get very, very uh
Territorial.
yeah. So we keep a lot of the things that we're doing very close to the chest because we have done that in the past where we've released some information about initiatives that we're doing, and lo and behold, 4 hours later, there's 3 or 4 other people that are like, yeah, we're doing this, and it's like, what? We're already doing that. Like, okay. um you know me and Mike both feel um that a lot of the initiatives that we're doing are extremely innovative, and you know we are trying to build out something that will have longevity, and I
Mm.
feel like we are truly on the right track, um because the business is a business. We treat it as a business. We hold ourselves to specific standards, um, and we involve ourselves with people that hold those same standards. Um, that is the root of why we are and why I think we will continue to be successful in what we're doing. And I think that if a lot of other people um, look at what we're doing, I'm sure that there's going to be people that are out there that are that say screw those guys. They're not good guys. They're not this. It happens with everybody. If we were not doing things right, um, I don't think that we would still be here.
So you are growing. I know you can't tell me, which is fair. I'm not gonna press the issue on that one, but you are growing. You're gonna be around. Noble's gonna be kicking ass and taking names down the line there. Very interesting. I think that was it. All my questions, though. I think we've hit the end. You've passed the gauntlet pretty much. Hopefully, it wasn't too tough. Hopefully, relationships are still fine and dandy there. But at this time, I'm gonna leave it to you guys, both of you guys. You can do shout outs if you want, your sponsors. I'll leave it up to you, and then we're gonna say goodbye.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
I want to give a big shout out. Number one to a gentleman that wasn't mentioned was Will or Ethics. He's building out a MOBA team for us in a new title that we'll be announcing here probably within the week. And he's a gentleman I talked about earlier that has a lot of experience, and so I'm happy he's with us. Also, want to just publicly just really say thank you to Paul, for allowing me to be a part of Noble and truly become close friends. And one of the initiatives in the future that we can't discuss, that's something that I mean I'm excited for that because it's going to really change Noble and grow and I'm just happy. I'm just really excited where we're going. It's really, 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 really cool to see all the hard work finally coming to produce something awesome. So again, thank you to Paul, and again, shout out to Will, shout out to Enemy Esports, shout out to Fusion Esports. Thank you, and thank you, Anthony, as well. Thank you very much for allowing us to have this platform to share Noble and share our experiences, and you'll get ready for a huge wave of traffic, buddy.
Yeah, and shout out to the sponsors: Twitch, Alpha Draft, Leet, Web Share, Custom Config, Control Freaks, and to the teams. Our Smite team, our World of Tanks team, our CS:GO team. The number of teams that have been with us, and that continue to stay with us. Um, just really happy, and thanks, Mike, and to yourself. Um, appreciate the time.
Alrighty. Well, thank you to you again. Once again, I probably will say this 20 more times before the call even ends, but thank you guys so much. I couldn't do it without you guys making these episodes. And thank you for, hopefully I hit all your questions, hit all the questions that you get or wanted to cover in this episode of Chalk Talk. And I appreciate you both coming on. Thank you once again. I truly, truly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.